One day, Rosie, 87546, and Flynn were at Hilltop Yards. Well, we're happy that Zach and P.T. Boomer haven't returned, puffed Rosie. She was wrong deep down. At a yard, Zach was coming up with an evil plan with P.T. Boomer, his best friend, along with Rex, an LMS-3F, Howard, a 260-2MT, and Mark, an LMS-8F. Let's find a way to get revenge on Rosie, 87546, and Flynn for getting me and Boomer washed up on Fortaventura Island, puffed Zach. Suddenly, Howard had an idea. How about we have someone as a spy for us? Puffed Howard. Excellent, puffed Zach. Later, Emily arrived at Hilltop Yards. Hi, Rosie, she puffed. Hello, Emily, puffed Rosie, and the two talked about Flynn's redemption. By the way, what is the name of this place? Emily asked curiously. The name of this place is Hilltop Yards, confided 87546. Then Emily left. Later, Emily arrived at the location of Zach and his allies. Rosie, 87546, and Flynn are at Hilltop Yards, she said. Excellent, Zach puffed. You are a true ally. Plus, your knowledge of Rosie, 87546, and Flynn also makes you a valuable asset in our plan. The next day, Rosie, 87546, and Flynn woke up and saw Emily. I have a surprise for you three, she puffed. The three engines loved surprises. They did not know this, but Emily led Rosie, 87546, and Flynn to Zach. I knew that Emily would be a key part in the plan. I still have use for her, puffed Zach. This made Rosie cry. Flynn felt bad for Rosie, and 87546 was cross with Emily. You backstabbing dimwit! I hope you are proud with yourself, he puffed. For the sake of me trying to help you, a deal had to be made with Zach, Emily replied. How dare you! You should know better. Zach would never hold true to his word when you make a deal with him. I know, Zach chuffed. When you make a deal with me, you're working with me for good. 87546 and Flynn spent the rest of the day trying to repair Rosie's broken heart. Emily was a good friend for years, and she betrayed us, puffed Rosie. Later, Zach was coming up with a master scheme. Let's collect some cars from various yards, and later we can use them to dump the 3 idiotic heroes into the ocean where they belong, he puffed. All of Zach's allies agreed, including Emily. And that is what they did. Zach and his minions collected the cars from any yard they could find. What have you got there? Zach asked. 3 flatbeds with a snow plow, Emily replied. Excellent, puffed Zach. I see you as my right-hand engine. When you next see Rosie, 87546, and Flynn, push them off the rails with it, he added. The car collecting continued on. At Hilltop Yards, Rosie was made aware of Zach's scheme by Flynn. Well, it's good that we will stop him in some way, she said. Agreed, puffed 87546. Then they decided to leave. But when the 3 engines saw Zach and Emily, they were cross. Hello, idiots, he puffed. How did you even manage to come back here? Rosie chuffed. Well, added Zach, me and P.T. Boomer were washed up on Fortaventura for several weeks, and all I thought about was you! We felt so relieved when the crane barge finally came to take us away. During the journey back to Sodor, the seas were calm this time, and me and Boomer were plotting revenge. That crane barge should have left you and Pete the Fat Exploder there, puffed 87546. Don't you dare call my friend that, puffed Zach. Wrong. You and him are nothing but trouble, puffed 87546, and the 3 engines left. Howard and Mark were chasing the 3 heroes on Zach's orders. The 2 then ran off a bridge, fell into some water with their tenders facing up, and floated away. Zach, Rex, and Emily arrived. This plan has failed, but we will have another opportunity, Zach chuffed. Then, Charlie and Benjamin arrived. We're here to help, Charlie puffed. Okay, Emily has an idea, puffed Zach. I sure do, she puffed, and Emily explained her idea to Zach. Emily, I approve of your idea, he puffed. Boys, we're going to trap Rosie, 87546, and Flynn. Then, we will dump them in the ocean where they belong! The 5 engines were coming down the line to a yard. They then came to a yard. I think she will find us here, puffed Zach. In that case, I will try to sabotage her trip here, added PT Boomer. Nice, Zach added. No one knew this, but during the journey, PT Boomer snuck on board Rosie. He sprayed a fire extinguisher in Rosie's firebox and finished the rest of the journey on foot. Rosie was cross. I'm now stuck half a mile to Zach's location. When the two made it to the yard, Zach laughed. You both cannot defeat me on your own. Wipe them out, boys, he added. After the 2 engines left to deal with Zach's minions, he thought about an opportunity. Once we get to Rosie, I want you to get a tanker car and blow her up, he puffed. Emily rejected the opportunity and decided to block Zach. Out of my way, bumpkin, snarled Zach. Emily thought this would be a good way for her to make up to Rosie by buying her time. After Rosie was refilled with Welsh coal and with her firebox relit, she decided to go after Zach. She then bumped Zach so hard he went back a few miles. What was that for? Zach puffed. You were nothing but a jerk since we first saw each other years ago, Rosie replied. You had the wrong idea the whole time, Freckles, added Zach. This made Rosie very annoyed. She bumped Zach so hard, he fell off an 80-foot cliff. You're going to regret doing that, Pinky, he puffed. He's wrong. I'm red nowadays, puffed Rosie. When Rosie returned, Charlie, Rex, and Benjamin's remains were smoldering. Emily then decided to speak. I really felt like buying you time as a way for me to say that I'm sorry for betraying you. Can we please be friends again? She chuffed. Yes, puffed Rosie. What about Zach? Puffed 87546. Rosie does not want to talk about him, added Flynn. Zach and P.T. Boomer hit the bottom of the cliff. It's Rosie's fault, said Boomer. After he got back in Zach's cab, a barge arrived, and out came its captain. I now have something I want to put on my barge, he said. During the journey, Zach was upset. Stupid Rosie and her dirty friends, he growled loudly. Hey, buddy, you might want to keep your mouth shut, said one of the crew members. The other two laughed as the journey continued. When they got back to Hilltop Yards, Rosie felt more happy than she had ever been on Sodor. Emily, I'm so glad we made our peace, puffed Rosie. 87546 and Flynn agreed, and they became friends with Emily once more. I'm glad the cars Zach and his minions collected were returned to their yards, puffed Flynn. They felt happy that Zach and P.T. Boomer were gone yet again. The barge later broke down in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Once more, we're stuck here, said P.T. Boomer. He and Zach were aware about the barge's crew mentioning an impending storm coming their way. No sooner than expected, a storm arrived in the Pacific Ocean. Zach and P.T. Boomer were caught in rough waves. This is some bad storm, said Zach. P.T. Boomer agreed. When the weather calmed down, the barge drifted towards Rarotonga because its crew were incapacitated by the storm. When it got there, Zach and P.T. Boomer were jolted off the barge, which was stuck on sand, and onto the shore. This is embarrassing, said P.T. Boomer. Thanks to Freckles, we're stuck here for who knows how long, puffed Zach. Zach and P.T. Boomer shrieked their loudest over what happened to them. Rosie, Flynn, and 87546 were happy about it. "Well, you won't have to deal with Zach," puffed 87546. Rosie knew that her best friend, 87546, was right.